NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Honestly, I like Modern Warfare so much more than I like Cold War 1. The engine's definitely different. I mean, I've struggled with Modern Warfare.
Seeing myself standing on the edge, about to fall. Don't know if you like to see me out there beneath, while I'm struggling to breathe on my own. I won't turn my back on you, 'cause your love's the only one I know. Just one more chance is all I need. I'll lift you up and set you free. I will take you right there. I will take you right there. I will take you. Every time you look into my eyes, I know I'm yours. All you want is to see me down and begging on the floor. Don't stop moving 'cause I like the way you choose me just right. I never backing down, never knowing when to stop. I won't turn my back on you, 'cause your love's the only one I know. Just one more chance is all I need. I'll lift you up and set you free. I will take you. Don't know if I'm really gonna make it, but I tried. I don't know if you really feel like I do. Losing my objective slowly out of sight. Just tell me how to make it right for you. Oh, I won't turn my back on you. I will take you out there. I will
Hello and welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. We wrap up the night with some Collegiate League of Legends. It's the Mountain West regular season coming to an end. 2 games left, and Boise State looking to advance to the cLoL playoffs. I am Michael Fisher, joined by Daniel Glovely Clock to call all of the action. Boise State has already locked up a spot in the Mountain West playoffs, but they want to make sure they finish as that #1 seed. And tonight, Glovely, they'll take on New Mexico. And as we've had happen, Riot likes to push patches very frequently, and tonight we're playing on a new patch. Not too many nerfs, but the Udyr nerf is something that Red Hots in particular probably has to keep his eyes on because he's been loving that Udyr when it's not been banned away.
Definitely, and we are in for a match tonight considering that the Lobos have quite a history with Boise State, and that Udyr, definitely a focus of the junglers. But with that, those are significant nerfs, and there has been a lot of talk about how that's going to impact the meta, change up what kind of junglers are going to be the focus.
Yeah, as we see the rules here, 376 schools, 11 Mountain West teams, 10-game round robin. The top 4 advance. I've been told there has been a rule change. No longer will be the Mountain West winner. They will just play the 2 semifinals, and then the winners of those semifinals will just advance. We won't have a Mountain West championship like we had last time between Boise State and Nevada. It will just be the 2 semifinals will be played, and then the winners of those 2 semifinals will just advance to those playoffs in early March. As we mentioned, Boise State has clinched a spot in those semifinals, and it looks like it will be the teams that we were sort of expecting. Glovely, as we take a look at the standings, Boise State, Colorado State, Nevada, and San Jose State right now all comfortably ahead. San Jose State and San Diego State are tied, but the Spartans have the head-to-head. San Diego State has to upset Colorado State while San Jose loses to Wyoming in order for the Aztecs to sneak in there. So Boise State probably setting up for a date against San Jose State to make it to the playoffs. We're not there yet. Right now, as you mentioned, it's Boise State, New Mexico, Glovely. And there are a lot of big changes. I mean, Twitch kind of changed. I've been told eThug, potentially not under a new name. We'll have to see when we get in. Not too worried about those. Were there any other nerfs or buffs that really caught your eye, Glovely, that you think might change? I know Gragas got a couple changes. You mentioned Rammus. Anything else that we want to keep our eyes on here?
There was one particular item change that really stood out. There was the Muramana changes. So when you have champions, who, for example, like Jace or Ezreal, who like to stack up that tier, they're not going to get as much damage out of their auto attacks anymore. A lot of that damage is going to be more forwarded into the abilities that those champions use.
Yeah, the Mirror Man one is actually insane. Every single attack now does bonus damage, and then your abilities do bonus damage. I would expect Lucian to really benefit from that item, but it's going to be interesting to see. You missed the biggest change, though, Glovely. The Shopkeeper was given 2 extra HP to make it a round number.
I mean, yeah, I gotta say, that's a pretty big buff. Personally, I think the biggest buff is those 3 new B-related skins that we're gonna be getting, but I don't think we'll be seeing them in this game yet. Here, Boise State up against the Lobos. We're in Champion Select.
They also, before we get into Champion Select, they also made it so you no longer have to wait for stats. You actually just get to the end of the match, which is really, really nice. Thank you, Riot. There's that Rel ban. She was actually nerfed. One of the ones that the support for New Mexico, I think, has played 10 straight Rel games, so you can see Boise State prioritizing that. There's that Rammus ban, a very interesting one. Udyr and Seraphine. So I'm guessing that Seraphine just almost permanently banned, even with her changes to her notes. And then one last ban here for Boise State, who I've been told is it the blue. They are going to ban away that Pantheon.
Pantheon certainly has been a terror of a champion, viable in 4 out of 5 roles, so getting that champion off of the field, a very good choice. Rumble, of course, the ban away, but Twitch is going to be picked up. You didn't ban the Twitch, so now Boise State going to feel pretty comfortable having that champion despite the nerfs.
Yeah, the nerfs, I mean, didn't take any power away from the E, just kind of nerfed a little bit of the damage on the passive by about 0.5%, nothing too crazy. There's the Kai'Sa, there's the Lilia. Kai'Sa has somewhat declined a little bit after her nerfs a couple patches ago, but still a very popular AD carry, especially because unlike the competitive scene, we just play on new patches, so someone might be really used to Kai'Sa. If she gets nerfed, you're like, well, I'm just going to stick on that, and so that's what New Mexico is going to do. There's that Hecarim pick, which is really interesting because that's going to be the most aggressive jungler we've ever seen Red Hots play.
Definitely. I mean, certainly it's possible that they could have swapped back or even swapped again to a completely different player in a completely different position. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's picking up that Hecarim. It is, in my opinion, a great jungler for newer players. That is going to be Sion there in the top lane. We've seen Goblin play very well on that, being nice and tanky for his team.
Yeah, Goblin has been really adapting to that top lane very well. He's done better and better, had a couple of matchups that have been rough, but for the most part, he's filled that role really well of sustain the team. Usually he picks up something like a Shen or an Ornn where he can really be supportive. This time, it's going to be on that Scion, going to be a meat shield. I guess maybe Boise State could throw it in the bot lane if they really wanted to as a support, be kind of that beefy counter to that Leona that gets picked up at the end of Phase 1 for New Mexico. So a little bit of mystery there for Boise State, but a Scion top lane's never a bad choice.
Definitely not. He is a great champion in terms of his ability to scale. Now as we move into the second round of bans, Galio going to be taken off the table. Not a big surprise. Boise State likes to run that in multiple roles, and with mid and support both open, taking that Galio away denies Boise the ability to run it in either of those locations.
Yeah, the Galio has been really, really strong for the Broncos. Curious to see what Boise State will ban here against New Mexico. You've seen them kind of focus all over the place. I mean, they took out Rel, who's just a very, very powerful support. There's that Cassiopeia ban, so it looks like they're going to just focus down that mid lane against New Mexico. Curious to see what the Lobos' final ban would be. Maybe Karma. I know she recently got buffed. I know Dean loves Karma, so that would maybe be my recommendation for them.
I mean, certainly they could also focus on some of those powerful mid lane picks. Ascent can be terrifying on a lot of champions, so maybe something else is scaring you off. Maybe you're afraid of Syndra, maybe you're afraid of Zoe, maybe you're afraid of Azir. He's certainly pulled out all of those champions in the past and done very well on them.
Yeah, Azir getting a little bit of a change, just a small nerf. And then there's the Orianna ban, which is interesting. He's played it a little bit. There's a Malphite taken away by Boise State, which is actually something that they've played probably more often. But interesting bans there. I don't know if we've actually seen Ascent on that Orianna, except maybe once. So a very interesting ban. Like you said, that probably leaves the Azir open, the Zoe. Definitely a lot of choices for him in that mid lane. I'm sure he's a little sad about the Rumble, but he'll be okay. He's used to it by now.
Aatrox's going to be the pickup there for the top lane of the Lobos. Great champion in terms of his ability to sustain, and he can really get going if you aren't able to buy those Grievous Wounds to shut him down. So thinking he's going to have an easier time into that Scion top. Not a very aggressive opponent there for him, and so able to potentially get himself scaling up. We'll see if the Hecarim can do anything about that. I think the Orianna ban was more about team composition. Boise State has a lot of members that are greatest in terms of a ball delivery system and can follow up on that shockwave. Thresh going to be picked up for Dean. We know how much he loves that champion, so very scary Boise State bot lane.
Now, we have not seen that in a while. Now, the Leona is tanky enough to sort of live through a Death Sentence Flay combo, and then with the Twitch poison, so it's the Kaisa that's going to have to be worried for New Mexico. Final pick here for the mid lane. It's Ryze, actually, something we have not seen, I think, Ascent ever plays. It's not around Worlds, so Ryze probably is trash if I know my Ryze buff nerf pattern well, which has happened like the last 4 years. Worlds comes around, Ryze is the best mid laner ever, then Worlds leaves, he somehow just absolutely crumbles. So I'll be curious to see what the counter is for New Mexico as they get the last pick.
He is definitely a champion that lends himself more to team play than he does to individual play. Lucian's going to be the pickup on the other side, likely going into that mid lane position. We've seen what a bully that champion can be. Playing into the Ryze, he does have something of a range advantage and isn't as reliant on the mana, but the Ryze can be a lot more terrifying if he doesn't have to worry about anything between him and Lucian.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how Ryze responds. One of those champions that really loved Rod of Ages as that sort of filler item that gave him tankiness, gave him some stats, in this case mana, and then also gave him a decent chunk of AP. That item did not survive through the item rework, and it definitely has affected a couple of champions. I'll be curious to see how Ryze responds in that case. It's Boise State, it's New Mexico here in our best of three. The cLoL is quietly coming to a close. Only 2 matches left for the Broncos today, and then coming up on Saturday, as we said, they've already clinched their spot in the 4-team playoff in the Mountain West. They win 1 game, they will advance into the cLoL playoff. So a ton of fun. And Glovely, any one quick thought from the draft?
As far as things look, Boise State has a very aggressive forward composition. Not a big surprise from them. They do like to play forward. Every single one of their champions are capable of diving in, initiating fights, or sneaking in on the back line, or setting others up to do so.
Well, before we get into this match, last week Boise State faced off against Utah State. Let's take a look back at some of those top plays.
At home, this is Boise State up against Utah State University here in the Mountain West Conference. Going into game 1.
Yeah, I'm going to guess it's going to...
No kills from either side, but eThug is now here. Does pick up Irate Genius. Jeppy is in a lot of trouble. Cubstep trying to come up to help. Agent Awesome, though, on the back line is getting jumped on by Tristana as double kill in the mid lane. eThug going to take that one, and now Cubstep is going to get brought down. Turret plating has now fallen, but so has Utah State.
I can't.
Down this Rengar.
I mean, you said it, Glovely. Fed Rengar is one of the most unfun things to play against as an AD carry.
Pulling into the parallel convergence, though. Red Hawk on a killing spree. Jeppy now in a very low state of health. Elcuno does get a gold card onto one target, but Red Hawk's going to use that Zhonya's Hourglass to keep himself safe. Does find a lot of damage, is unstoppable on Elcuno now. Red Hawk with a tiny sliver of health survives thanks to the intervention from Soraka. Dean now is taking Cubstep, and Irate Genius gets Goblin on the other hand. Flash over the wall, but Flash follows. eThug still dominating. Agent Awesome, the only one alive in this fight. He gets taken. I get it, was very close. They did not have Cubstep there. eThug, though, is here. Does land the Venom cast onto all of their members, but now is in the backline. My goodness. What? Even with multiple members of the team on top of him, eThug survives, shredding through the front line and back line of Utah State.
Behind you.
Dodge. Speaking of things behind you, eThug is here, putting some damage down onto Jeppy, though. There's the ultimate back in.
New Mexico must have been busy during that game against Utah State, Glovely, because those were replays. Those also might have been predictions for the future, at least the ones that featured that Twitch. Somehow getting through, and we have not seen eThug disappoint yet on that champion in the AD carry role.
I mean, it is a very difficult champion to deal with. What with the ability to turn invisible, to avoid being tracked down, makes it great for escaping as well as engaging. Your squishy backline members can just get blown up, and it eats away at the tank. So a very terrifying champion, but if you can get on top of him, he is very squishy. But when you look at how Boise State likes to draft, they like to have this beefy front line to put in front of him.
Yeah, good luck getting through the Thresh. Good luck getting through the Scion. It is going to be work if you even make it there. And I'll be curious to see how Red Hot builds this Hecarim. We've seen him more in that tanky role. We know Hecarim can kind of go tank, middle ground, or eThug, which is just full armor pen and you just don't stop. So I'll be curious to see how Red Hot plays this first matchup as we get to Doc's Keys, focus on a strong comp, play to our win con, focus on what we've learned, and eThug smash. Doc's Keys brought to you by Count, whose Identity Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, and enables a personalized customer experience for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. If you want to stay safe online, go check them out at Count.com, KOUNT.com. And, you know, all you have to do is really say eThug smash, Glovely, and I think that has been a very good win condition for Boise State ever since he's moved into that 80 carry role.
Definitely. We're now setting up on Summoner's Rift. Nothing too crazy seeming to come out from either side. Everyone just kind of drawing the lines of scrimmage. Boise State going to drop a ward there in that river just to make sure that they don't get any invades as eThug and Dean move into a defensive position. Things going to go pretty calm and smooth.
But the only real big one would be the fact that eThug is not running heal. He's running Ignite instead.
That's not a surprise
no,
to me.
Not at all.
I mean, this is kind of expected
don't do it
behavior.
Again. No. Hopefully New Mexico did some VOD review, because they did this last week against Utah State game 1, and things quickly fell apart. I do think it is going to be interesting, though, around the rest of the map, how much the Didicus can gank for New Mexico, because Ryze, I mean, has always been this scaling champion. If you can get him while he's building that tier, if you can get him before he hits his power spike, you could get Willump ahead on that Lucian. And with those new changes to Mirror Mana, I think Lucian could be a very big powerhouse.
Definitely, especially since he does have a lot of opportunities to build sort of some anti-tank items, which Boise State has a lot of bulk on their side. Could be very useful to have just a little more extra tank slaying damage, because the Kaisa is going to provide, and certainly you're going to get some damage over time from the Lilia, but to be able to have it from multiple sources when your team is this squishy would be very nice.
Interesting to see that Didicus is going to start on his red buff. We've seen Red Hot almost always start on his blue, and once they end up down around that bot lane, level 3, level 4, and try and organize a gank. Good job by New Mexico. You saw the pings come out. They knew exactly where ETHUG, or now EHUG, and Dean are together. I don't know if there'll be too many hugs you want to get from that Twitch if you're the side of New Mexico, though.
I mean, I personally would prefer to not have a hug from any Twitch. I mean, that guy's got to smell pretty bad. Do see the triple Q there coming out in that top lane, but Shield is going to soak it up. He's going to respond. Goblin faring very well in these trades.
Oh, nice play. He's going to land on the Luna. He flashes over, gets Havoc caught. Sponge going to come out. Heal is used. Oh, I don't think it's going to be enough. Nice heal there from Havoc. He should barely be able to survive.
But that does mean that he's going to be forced to back away or burn potions if he wants to stay in this lane. Well, Twitch can probably just do that all over again, minus the Ignite. But you don't really need an Ignite when your opponent doesn't have any healing. On second thought, I guess they could just come on underneath the turret. There goes the exhaust. Dean caught out, but ETHUG is going to pick up the first blood. He is going to get caught out by this Leona, though. The Lilia is going to try and not going to help over the wall. Double kill, going to go to that support. Bit of an over-aggressive choice for Boise State.
Yeah, it was a great job by Didicus rotating down, realizing how aggressive EHUG and Dean want to play. Double kill onto the Leona, probably not what you wanted. A little shocked that Didicus at full life did not pursue for that kill, because I think that getting that Lilia ahead where she could be kind of tanky and go land a 3 or 4 man sleep would definitely have been the better play for New Mexico, but I'm sure they'll take the 2 for 1 regardless. We did actually miss a kill, by the way. The Sentinel actually killed Willem while all that was going on. I was wondering how the score was 2-2. As we see Red Hot charging in, he's going to knock Havoc into the wall. Unfortunately for Boise State, the rest of the bot lane a little too far behind. But I guarantee Red Hot's going to hang out here and try and set up another game.
I wouldn't be surprised. Getting that bottom lane ahead would be a huge advantage. That is going to be now the point where Leona can back, is going to have some items to bring to the lane, actually going to be able to use that power spike, but it looks like it's going to go to just a little bit of armor, a little bit of health, some boots. Always got to have some boots.
Yeah, the armor, not the right play, because we know ETHUG, now EHUG, loves that AP Twitch, so you would have liked to go with something a little bit more magic resistance. Didicus is going to come in. Ascent trying to pressure down Willem. Nice W is going to land there, and that is a dead rise, and right now Didicus making himself felt across the rift. Been a part of 2 kills now for New Mexico.
Both of these champions who are, I guess, Centaur-like is the best way to describe them. Both of them have such great mobility across the rift. I really like the choice of that Lilia, especially with the Hecarim. Boise State, though, going to engage on that bottom lane. Very tanky Leona, going to take a lot of punishment. Half a health bar, but is still alive.
Leona is just tanky enough. Gets that magic resist from the W to be able to stay alive. Venom's going to land. Haven's going to take quite a bit. Luna's going to go in. Now he's probably dead to an expunge. And I think ETHUG's waiting on the cooldown right now. Poison's going to reset. This could be a double kill here for ETHUG. He's going to pick up one. Dean goes down to the tower. Luna's going to try and get away here. No expunge available. ETHUG playing with fire.
Oh, the tick.
Oh, nice! Oh!
He's going to get ignited and go down.
I thought he had it. That was a great play with the flash to get out of tower range.
For a moment, I thought he had it too, but unfortunately, Ignite does not worry about skill shots. It is point and click, and he did not have the health to survive. Even if he did have that mastery triumph, yes, that would have probably given him a little bit more health. Probably not enough to survive there.
Triumph's like 12%. It might have been enough.
I mean, in my opinion, it's easily one of the best masteries in the game. It's always a surprise to me whenever I don't see it on an AD carry, but in this case, that domination mastery is what he's going to be favoring.
You still think of Triumph with the secondaries. Unfortunately, cannot see it as ETHUG's right back. Red Hot's going to get stunned out there by the Leona, forced to disengage. And New Mexico's kind of realized bot lane's going to be the focus, and they picked that Leona for a reason. She is more than tanky enough to shut down the engages, as Didicus now going to come down. Going to land the Swirling Seed onto Red Hot, and now he's going to have to give up that Rift Scuttle. At least for now, he's going to go charging back in at incredibly low health. Smites for the level up. Onslaught of Shadow's going to miss. Nice play into a Death Sentence. Both going to land onto HP Havoc. He's got no flash. Heal's not going to matter. They'll trade off 1 for 1, and once again, Leona picks up another kill. Willow has rotated down. There's a teleport out from Yellow Cactus. He will ult. World Breaker has been used. Ethug has to be careful. Didicus incredibly low. Ignite lands, but he's going to be able to get away. It's a double kill for the Aatrox. The Goblin just backed and didn't even teleport into the fight, so that goes awry for Boise State. Right now, Mexico sitting pretty right now with a 9-5 lead.
Definitely. Boise State really overextending in that matchup. They didn't target the Twitch, but they didn't need to. The other members of Boise State had such low health bars, and because they're committing themselves to peeling for this Twitch, the Twitch hasn't hit that point where he can sort of 1v5 a team yet. Looking at his items right now, he still doesn't have that Gnasher's Tooth that's so crucial to the damage output of that AP Twitch build.
AP Twitch, one of the few champions right now viable without building a mythic item. So he won't get that kind of big power spike that we see a lot of other champions get when they finish that mythic. We do see Yellow Cactus also right now sitting at 3-0. Yeah, I think he had actually killed Goblin before that fight broke out, which is why Goblin was not able to rejoin. So we've seen a lot of kills across the map while other big plays are taking place, as Ethug's now in that stealth, trying to find and engage here onto HD Havoc. Got to be careful for the Zenith Blade. There it is. But he's only going to get 2 stacks and nothing more.
There's a death sentence underneath the tower. Aftershock does go off, but they're not able to follow up underneath. Leona, very tanky champion. I do think it was a great choice into the Twitch, if only for the survivability and the ability to block that Twitch down if they get onto it. But meanwhile, Boise State playing over-aggressive underneath that tower. Dean's going to go down again. Boise State tower diving constantly. Ethug tries to go invisible and get out, but they have a vision board. Here comes Red Hot's on the back lane. He's still burning down. Twitch does pick up the shutdown. Meanwhile, in the top lane, top laners are trading back and forth. Goblin taking quite a bit of punishment. Aatrox is now at the point where he can really start healing off of his abilities. Looks like bottom lane decided to go much calmer while we moved away.
The camera realized it was time to move on. Yellow Cactus does have that Iron Spike whip, so he's able to get some of that AoE healing. Building towards that Gore Drinker, which is going to make Grievous Wounds incredibly important for Boise State to pick up early on, besides just that one Ignite that E-Hug has. But yeah, this has been I mean, we've seen the aggression from Boise State in the past. We know how aggressive Ethug wants to be, but we have never seen this bot lane this aggressive. I mean, we're 9.5 minutes in, and we've had, what, 3 tower dives already by Dean and E-Hug? That's crazy, as we're going to trade objectives here. Dragon for Boise State, Rift Herald for New Mexico.
It's really crazy that Boise State is tower diving this against a champion who is great at stunning you up underneath the tower. Leona, not a champion like to dive. Boise State is going to pick up the dragon. Meanwhile, they have found out a support here in the jungle for members of Boise State. Luna Ephemera goes down, and it's Ascent who's going to pick that one up. They're probably also going to pick up this blue buff. Not much they can do about it on the side of the Lobos.
Yeah, Boise State maybe trying to set up for a 4-man push on the bot lane tower as the Rift Herald is going to be summoned. Goblin nearly gets hit by that ability over the wall. I don't even think Didicus knows he is there. Looks like he's going to try for a blind Q steal of the Grump, and he's not going to be able to get it. And Mexico's going to pick up 3 plates for their problems. Might be able to actually finish this off with the minion wave. Goblin doesn't have teleport. So this could be first turn over to the side of New Mexico.
I think it will be. Boise State doesn't have any members in the area, and they don't seem to have any intention of helping out in that top lane. It looks like they're just going to give that one up. First tower most likely going over to the Lobos now. Ascent taking a lot of damage as the culling comes out. Here comes Daedicus trying to track down Ascent. Gets another teleport in response. Thankfully, Realm Warp is going to get him to safety, or at least deeper into the jungle where they don't know where he is. Meanwhile, another tower dive in the bottom lane. Huge Hecarim dive. Leona is on her own underneath the turret. Twitch, though, is going to pick up an elimination there. Red Hots will get the other one. They do sacrifice Dean for that, though.
And Ascent did get executed on his journey through the New Mexico jungle. I think he could have just backed. I don't even think Didicus knew he was there. We're going to take a look at this replay here. You have the nice death sentence. There's that lantern absolutely sending the onslaught of shadows right onto HD Havoc. Unfortunately, it does fear him away, which did buy him enough time. We see the damage there of the expunge, spray and pray, allowing those bullets to penetrate. And we see Ethug actually going to get caught out by the Yellow Cactus returned alive. That's a huge shutdown that's going to go onto Didicus there on that Lilium.
And getting that money onto the Lilia and onto the Aatrox. Big deal for the Lobos. Those are two champions that are going to be carrying them on later in the game, because Boise State only really has a few options for that Grievous Wound so far. We have the Bramble Vest up there in that top lane, which has prevented Goblin from being able to finish any items yet. And we also have Eathug's Ignite, which is, you know, on a significant cooldown.
Yeah, Grievous Wounds to shut down this Aatrox are going to be very paramount. He's already finished the Gore Drinker. Second mythic item in the game is Ascent's also finished out Leandry's. Big reason why that 114 CS, nearly 20 ahead of Willump, his lane opponent. Curious to see if Willump is going to build a Man Immune. Recently got changed to do a lot more percent damage on hit, especially for basic attacks and then abilities as well. As we see Red Hot's roaming up, he was pinged out on a ward. So I don't know how aggressive New Mexico wants to be. You can see them pinging this. Meanwhile, we've got Didicus rotating down on the bot side of the map, as once again, Ehug and Dean are geared up for a tower dive. Q1's going to land. Here comes the World Breaker. Box is going to be used. The teleport will come out for Willump into the bot lane. We do see here's an engage on the top side. Luna doing a great job taking all of that damage. Ehug has now been caught out. Trying to get to that tower. Spray and pray is not going to be enough. It's a 2-kill for nothing in the bot lane. Double kill for Willump. And New Mexico is just... I mean, we were maybe shocked they let the Twitch get through, but they played it perfectly, allowing that Twitch to be Boise State just too aggressive in the bot lane right now.
Too aggressive does seem to be the name of the game. Boise State diving under towers, overextending, and just sort of charging in, expecting that, yeah, we're going to get the kill. After all, we have a Twitch. We're totally awesome. But maybe getting a little bit too comfortable here as New Mexico showing signs of life, pinning them down whenever they have the opportunity. Red Hot now very low. Onslaught of Shadows used up, but not able to get out. It's going to go down to Didicus. Ascendo trying to follow up. Can't. There goes the flash. It's going to use the Realm Warp to get behind where Goblin is now waiting. But that Ilia is such a fast champion. Unstoppable Onslaught is going to be used just to try and close the gap, but Ilia able to get away with the Blast Cone, and now there's an Aatrox in the wings. Does miss the W, not able to complete the attack.
All right, Lilia's movement speed is just one of those things where you're like, really? Did that have to be a thing? She's just so hard to be able to chase down, even with the Realm Warp coming out from Ascent. Boise State will pick up that bot lane turret. Yellow Cactus going to rotate over, gets Death Sentence right into a play. World Breaker is going to be used. Trying to lifesteal as much damage as he can. Doing a really good job. Dean just face tanking him. Ethug has already used that expunge. There is no more burst damage for that Twitch, but he will get the shutdown. But Willem's going to dash in. Culling has been used. Ehug barely goes invisible. Oh, but they're going to be able to spot him out. Can he make it to safety? The answer is no. Boise State rotate over to save him, and now they have to be careful. Goblin's going to be forced to flash over the wall, and it's a 1-for-1.
Dean, I can't believe Dean got out of there alive, but Ehug, unfortunately, running into that Leona, getting revealed in that tiny radius. It looks like New Mexico is going to have full priority over this next dragon. That's going to be the Cloud Drake for them. Very useful dragon to have, given how much mileage they've already gotten out of their ultimate abilities.
See what our soul will be. It will be an Infernal Soul, which is no better way to describe a game that has 26 kills in 15 minutes than with the dragon that's going to increase everybody's damage.
Definitely, and how much of that can really be attributed to the way that Boise State is pushing up on these turrets. Speaking of turrets, they are going to pick one up for themselves. So 2 turrets, 2 Boise State, 2 New Mexico's 1. There is that advantage there.
Yeah, the other big advantage is the CS advantage. You can see Goblin 11 up on his lane opponent. Ascent is nearly 60 ahead of his opponent. His Yellow Cactus is going to get caught out there, but he will retreat. And then we see Ethug, despite all the deaths, still over 40 CS ahead. So there is about 100 CS difference between the 3 main lanes for Boise State and their opponent. It's a big reason why, despite being down 6 kills, the Broncos are nearly even in gold, only about 100 behind.
And I think one of the reasons why they have that big CS lead is because they've been playing so aggressive under these turrets. It's really hard to pick up the CS when your opponents are constantly diving you in your face. So the turret is the one that's picking up most of the CS for their team.
Yeah, you can see that Ethug has a 3,000 gold lead over HD Havoc, which is huge, and the difference in the damage he carries is going to put out. Didicus going to get hit, but he lands a huge sleep. Polar Star going to be used as well, but a great Lantern gets Dean to safety. And Ehug as well. Teleport is coming in. Looks like New Mexico will retreat. Onslaught of Slados is going to land. Get the fear on Yellow Cactus right into that death sentence to go over the wall. And it's one for Boise State. But Dean, the MVP on that Thresh with a great lantern to keep E-Hug alive from the sleep.
That Dark Passage absolutely essential for keeping their primary carry alive and able to reposition that Twitch. It's one of the big advantages that their team has in terms of being able to put everything into that hyper carry champion. But also Boise State committing a lot of resources there to take that mid lane tower, a teleport, the Realm Warp. But now they've rotated with those eliminations that they picked up. They're going to pick up a second tower for themselves. One little seed there not going to do anything to stop them. And it looks like they're also going to pick up this Rift Herald.
Yeah, be curious to see where they want to put it. Do they want to focus it on bot lane to get those super minions going early? Do they want to just push it mid or top where they have a tier 2 turret? But Boise State's objective play right now, a big reason why they have a 2K gold lead despite being down by 5 kills. Nothing too important on the map right now, so CS the name of the game. You can see that Ascent has finished his tier. It's now the Seraph's Embrace. Does not look like Willump is building a tier, and he's also not building the Kraken Slayer, which has been a go-to item on Lucian. So that is going to be interesting to see how that's going to affect his burst damage.
Yeah, one thing I'm very curious about as E-Hug now gets all in on this Leona, Death Sentence is going to catch out the Leona. That should be enough damage from the ticking. Luna Ephemera down to E-Hug, who's going to have his 8th elimination of the game here, sneaking up forward.
Yeah, the big thing about this Twitch is you got to make sure you use that expunge correctly, because that's about all the burst damage you have. We've seen a couple times where he uses it and then there's no follow-up. Sleep's going to be used. E-Thug and Dean will get slept, but Didicus uses that defensively. He's just going to be able to disengage.
One thing that's very concerning about the fact that they don't have that Kraken Slayer is that Boise State has so many tanks. How do you chew through that front line when you're not using those anti-tank weapons? You've committed everything to trying to do something about that Twitch. Ascent on a killing spree now, 4-3-0, kind of the unsung hero there. We talk about this Twitch, but Ascent is rocking on this rise, doing very well for himself despite it still being very early in the game.
Yeah, this comp works when Ascent's kind of able to get that solo pressure. He's going to Realm Warp to safety. That's going to leave Red Hot and Dean in a very precarious situation. Lantern will get him to safety. Now Yellow Cactus wants to re-engage. They have no idea E-Thug's there. Yellow Cactus forced to flash. Red Hot's charging into the turret. They're going to slam Yellow Cactus into the wall. Teleport is coming out from Willump to try and join the fight. E-Thug picks up one, making a second one for Ascent. There's not really much Didicus or Willump can do, and they're probably going to have to run away as the Rift Herald gets spawned there by Red Hots.
Can we just take a moment to credit these incredible Dark Passages from Dean? Those lanterns have been amazing, on point, shut down there. They do pick up E-Hug. Could be dangerous for Boise State. They answer the call, but Red Hot is also going to be sacrificed. Goblin does get a fully charged Decimated Smash, but not able to chase down. Ascent, though, still alive. A very viable carry for the team. Uses the Blast Cone to try and close the distance, but Kaisa not getting anywhere close. Here comes the teleport. That was a good push away. Ascent now on his own up against this Aatrox. Does get the root, so he will be able to walk away. The same might not be said for Goblin, who is, yes, just barely going to be able to walk away.
I like that flash by Goblin, trying to get that kill onto HD Havoc. You can see Dragon is spawning soon, but New Mexico's the first one there. They're taking care of the Rift Herald, and this should give them priority. Baron's up as well if Boise State wants to engineer a trade. Right now, it looks like they plan on fully contesting as Goblin and Yellow Cactus just going to slap each other around a little bit. I don't think Goblin's in any worry of going down, and he'll just chase them off the Dragon.
Sometimes I wonder why we don't see more Aatrox going Stridebreaker, just because it makes it so much easier to actually land those keys. We did see great play by Goblin to avoid them, but now E-Hug might be caught in a bit of a bad spot here. Does get stunned up. Didicus unstoppable now on this Lilia. What a terrifying champion for Boise State to go up against. Onslaught of Shadows whips in the back line. Red Hot is going to get punished for it with his life. Goblin trying to be a good tank, but Ascent is the one who's really carrying his team right now, putting out so much damage. Quadra kill, but there is still this Lilia alive. Decimating Smash is not going to be able to land. Goblin, the only one left alive. Very tanky, but I don't think he has the damage to bring this Lilia down. Not when she could dance around all of his skill shots. That is going to be the ace for New Mexico, and a triple kill for the Lilia.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Ascent's that unsung hero right now. Picked up the Quadra kill. Unfortunately, he just didn't have enough health left to survive through Didicus, who's now 8-0-7. on that Lilia, so he is going to be an issue for Boise State later on in this game. And this Leona pick has time and time again proved to be a perfect selection into that Twitch. The Zenith Blades locking him down, you mentioned it. Yes, Twitch can one-shot you. We saw the highlights from Utah State. But if you lock him down, he is not the tankiest AD carry. He has no escapability outside that stealth, which stealth for the most part in League of Legends is very weak when you try and use it when you're in people's faces. So this has been a great counter pick and maybe a reason why they didn't ban that Twitch.
Definitely. Leona is tanky enough just to kind of survive that initial burst, and then of course could be caught out. Dark Passage there just to make sure that the Leona doesn't go in and eliminate the Twitch in an instant, this time at least. They're going to try and roam up further into New Mexico's jungle. Ascent is there as well. Death Sentence lands onto Leona. They no longer have that engaged, so eHug perfectly happy to wander around that backside now. Goblin is going to get on the flank. They trap this Aatrox with the Fox. eHug is here. Ascent is going to pick up Will of Machamp, and that's a shutdown in exchange. But eHug now slaying Yellow Cactus. The Baron is available.
Yeah, Ascent with the Realm Warp went a little bit too ham. Tried to 1v3 while the team was killing Yellow Cactus. Does trade 1-for-1 though. This should allow Boise State to pretty easily pick up this Dragon. This Baron, excuse me. Didicus can contest. He's got a 3-level lead on Red Hots. So Smite would be very much in the favor of New Mexico. Has the flash as well, but Goblin looks like he's going to try and gatekeep this.
Seeing the bodyguard here for his team, but he's taking a lot of punishment. There is the ward over the wall.
Oh!
Good death sentence. Does
Nice.
find Daedicus. Still jumps over the wall. Stolen! Daedicus doing an absolute monster of a job. Sets up his team with a huge sleep as well. They dive the backline. eHug is going to finally shut him down, but HD Havoc doing an amazing job. Picks up the double hill kill. eHug, though, going to answer with a double kill of his own, but it's 2 members now of Boise State up against the entire lineup of New Mexico, as Ascent was nowhere near that fight.
Yeah, Ascent just now respawning. Great play by Didicus. I mean, New Mexico came in as the underdog. If you want to upset the top team in the Mountain West, you've got to make some risky plays, and that was an absolutely great play. With the instant replay, he's able to flash over, lands that sort of W-Smite execute combo that Lilia does have against major objectives, uses Zhonya's perfectly, but then that is huge, though. Despite the Baron, the Lilia shutdown going on to eHug almost sort of neutralizes all the gold you would get from that Baron.
Will up to Chump now, closing in on Goblin. The culling is used. We see Leona trying to follow up. Doesn't have the reads, but I don't think he needs it. Goblin now is going to go down. He'll commit his life to picking up a little more CS before he drops.
I don't know if the Goblin Scion experiment has worked how Boise State intended. I mean, Shen was still available, Ornn was still available. I think those fit just better in the Boise State style, especially the Shen. I mean, the number of times the Stand United might have been able to keep eHug alive, really incredible at this point. You see the Lancer's already down. Didicus can't even get the sleep off in time. He just gets blown up. And this Twitch has now reached levels of, this could be a pentakill if you stand in the W long enough.
The really crazy thing is that he's actually picked up his Mythic. He's picked up the Everfrost for him. We did see that stun out in that full combo. That is an item that was recently buffed because Riot didn't think it was being very successful on a lot of AP champions, so proving that it definitely has a place on this AP Twitch. If not as the first item, then maybe as the third.
You see the Rabadons, the 24 stack Magi's, all fitting into that build rather nice. Do not like the armor on Didicus. You have a 10-5 rise and a 14-7 AP Twitch. As the fight's going to come out, Solar Flare is going to miss. Dean has been caught out. Box will be used. So you got to deal with eHug on the back line. Frame Prey has been popped. Huge expunge, going to cut the HP in half. Red Hot picks up one. He gets the second one. HD Havoc's trying to kite. They'll use the ultimate to get away. They will take down Goblin. They got to be careful. Didicus coming in with the Lullaby. Flash forward by eThug. Expunge used. Willem gonna die. He will go down the last take of poison, and Boise State will trade that one 3-for-2.
I hope we caught the replay of that engage because you could see exactly how Boise State's game plan goes. So many people trying to close in on this Twitch, and we see Hecarim and Goblin and Red Hot, everybody throwing themselves in the way of this switch so that none of those skill shots are accessing him in that back line is how he's able to stay alive for so long despite so much attention being on top of him.
Just the problem to me is the itemization for New Mexico has definitely been poor. I mean, you see the steel-plated boots on the Aatrox. Again, where's the AD damage you're scared of? Is it the Stridebreaker Hecarim who's 4, 5, and 11? To me, this just feels like New Mexico might not realize this is AP Twitch at this point because they're building a lot of armor that is kind of useless against E-Hug.
I do kind of wonder if they are watching on that back line. Maybe they think Ascent going to pick up one more for himself. They do prod to press the attack, but they are going to shut him down. Ascent not able to get away, deciding I'm going to stick around to try and get a little more damage off. But back to my original point, it's possible that they think that maybe just removing that armor that he's getting on these auto attacks, they are auto attack focused. Dark Passage comes in just to give him a shield. E-Hug legendary now. So maybe they're trying to reduce the power of those auto attacks as they come in, sort of as a way of preventing that Twitch from dealing a lot of mixed damage. I do think that the Dead Man's Plate is a great item just in general there because of the additional movement speed you get. Boise State is going to pick up the Dragon there for themselves as they have an inhibitor down. Now the focus is on the bottom side of the map.
I just feel like if you're Didicus, you got to find a way to survive the Twitch combo. Slipper's going to come out. Ult's going to be used there by Havoc as well. He's going to get the 1,000 gold shutdown. Now Boise State without any damage. It's Dean and Goblin. And they're just going to full disengage. And 3 members of Boise State overstay their welcome just a little bit. And as soon as E-Hug goes down, the damage just kind of flattens out.
Bit over-aggressive from Boise State, but that's been the story of the game, and honestly, it's been working out well for them. They still have a 2K gold lead, despite all of their attempts being very hard punished by New Mexico, so they are getting a lot of mileage out of this whole thing. Even losing a Baron, Boise State still has a 2K gold lead.
I mean, you can see a big reason why from Boise State. 8 towers to 1. They're taking down the mid inhibitor. They have an exposed top inhibitor. Bot lane's inhibitor turret is incredibly low. Gold, though, has pretty much evened up across the board. It's a 5K gold lead for Ascent over Willump, and that's mainly the only big one. It's about 2.5K for Yellow Cactus, about 2K for Ascent, or for E-Hug, excuse me, and then it is about 4K for Didicus. So Didicus and Ascent kind of canceling each other out. Yellow Cactus and E-Hug kind of canceling each other out. CS, the big difference, though. It's 150 CS difference in the mid lane right now, Glovely.
Yeah, definitely. They've been committing a lot of time to letting Ascent take those sidelines and just shove them in while the rest of Boise State makes plays across the map. It's almost like they're focusing so hard on this Twitch that they've forgotten that there's a rise in the game. He's been continuously pushing up these lanes. He's now shoving into the top lane inhibitor, and even now, New Mexico completely ignoring him as Dean goes in with that hook.
Yeah, the ult's only good from Didicus, only going to land onto Dean. E-Hug's trying to kite away from Luna and Fira as HD Havoc's going to pick up the first kill onto Dean. One man goes pop, HD Havoc's Guardian Angel going to be triggered. Ascent and E-Hug right there, and there's no way Kais is getting out. It's a double kill, making a triple kill for Ascent. Meanwhile, Goblin doing what all good top laners do, just shoving down that bot lane turret, knowing he's not needed in the fight. He's just trying to win the game for his team.
Hey, notice me! I'm doing things!
I'm helping!
He is going to get a little bit of attention as Boise State is now taking down Nexus turrets. New Mexico only have 1 member alive. Aatrox is not there. He's going to end up running into both carries of Boise State if he's not careful.
Yeah, E-Hug and Ascent are stopping the backs rather well. Yeah, there's not much you can do there. They're going to teleport in. Willump is up. Havoc and Didicus are up in 5 seconds, but it's not going to matter. Boise State's going to close that one out. And a game that was closer at times than it felt like it should have been eventually goes the way of Boise State. Don't forget the Idaho Army National Guard, a proud supporter of Boise State esports. They bring us top plays at the end of every broadcast. They also invite you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. It's Boise State. It's New Mexico. Game 1 in the books, Glovely, but I feel like Boise State probably thought that would go a little bit smoother than it actually did.
Definitely, especially considering that they got one of their big pickups. That Twitch really heavily punished by the presence of that Leona, able to jump on top of him and lock him down long enough for the rest of his team to follow up on. I wouldn't be surprised if we either see the Leona banned out by Boise State or even Boise State willing to swap onto another champion.
Yeah, I think the Leona ban's probably going to be number one. I'll be curious if New Mexico bans the Twitch, because it felt like, yeah, at the end of the day, eThug popped off. They had a really good counter for it going about 10-15 minutes, and I'm like, wow, this is actually kind of working. So maybe they'll ban it, maybe they won't. We'll have to see. But before we get to game 2, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Can Boise State get the sweep? Will Twitch be banned? Find out after this break.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Legendary parts for legendary wins.
We don't even have 400 here.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Welcome back into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. This is week number 9 in the cLoL Mountain West Tournament. Boise State and 9 other teams fighting for a chance to make the cLoL playoffs. While Boise State's already made it, they have clinched a spot officially. We don't know if they'll be the 1 seed or the 4 seed, but they cannot officially drop out of those top 4 spots, which is good news for them. Right now, they're just trying to wrap up the season with a perfect 10-0 record. Fish and Glovely here calling all the action. And right now, New Mexico gave them all they could handle, and maybe even some more, Glovely, because for a while there, New Mexico in the kill lead. Objectives started to go Boise State's way. You kind of see that skill level maybe showing through where Boise State was knowing when to prioritize objectives, farming really well. Huge shout out to Ascent, by the way. The man would have hit 400 CS if that game went any longer. Absolutely dominated that CS battle, and that's where Boise State built their edge on their in-game skill, the micro, and they were able to turn it into a bunch of kills, especially onto eThug and Ascent.
I do want to shout out to the Lobos, though, between that terrifying Lilia, not to mention the incredible Baron steal. That was an amazing play. I hope we saved the replay for that one. But also, they actually found an answer to the Twitch in that Leona. Well, kind of. Certainly, they did a great job of punishing that Twitch whenever Boise State overengaged or tried to dive underneath the tower. The Twitch was suddenly getting a Zenith Blade in his face and getting locked down, and that allowed them to prevent that Twitch from being very effective in a lot of fights where he otherwise probably could have just chewed through their team.
Yeah, I will agree with you. I agree with you, and I want to say they solved the Twitch. Then you look at the final score, Ethug was something like 18-8, and you're like, well, did they really solve him? So it is one of those things where I think in lane, I totally agree with you, Glovey, that they shut down that Twitch more than any team has shut down that Twitch before. But the way Ethug, or I guess I should say Ehug, he has decided apparently he wants to be a little bit more friendly. The way he plays is just so hard to counter, and New Mexico's like, hey, lesson learned.
That's the best way to counter the Twitch, is to commit one of your bans to him. Boise State going to get Rel off the field. That is a powerful champion in the meta right now. The Rumble, there we go. That looks much more like the typical bans against Boise State, so one more will be available for them. Boise State going to get that Pantheon off the field. Still a very strong champion that they don't want to deal with. I'm surprised we haven't seen that Lilia yet, but that could be the third ban. Yeah,
I would expect Rammus to not be a ban for Boise State, and I would expect it to be that Lilia instead for New Mexico. Seraphine, I was going to say Udyr. This could also mean that the Lobos plan on just straight up first picking the Udyr, kind of how Udyr has been in this meta right now. Did just recently take some nerfs. Boise State's going to say we don't want to play against Udyr. They'll rather run it back against the Lilia, and I think there's no reason why Didakis and New Mexico shouldn't just first pick it.
It is a little bit of a surprise that Udyr is still such a high priority given the nerfs to that champion, but I guess at this point the players just feel so comfortable on Udyr now that they don't want the other team to have access to that, so that they can have that familiarity with that champion, even if it's not as powerful. Kaisa going to be the first pickup, not a big surprise. That is a very popular AD carry, and we have seen Ascent running in that bottom lane.
Yeah, the one thing kind of going for New Mexico with this Lilia is as long as they pick it in Phase 1, they don't have to be too worried. It's not something we've seen Red Hots ever play. He's more of a tankier kind of player, usually with the Udyr or maybe even, the Nunu. Now we're going to get the Sejuani, who recently got a minor change. The Hecarim was really the first real damage that we've seen him play. The Camille is interesting, though. That's not what we've seen come out from Goblin really at all. I mean, we've seen him on Gnar. That's probably the biggest carry in the top lane. So that is going to be an interesting matchup that I want to keep my eyes on, because I thought Yellow Cactus did a really good job of kind of punishing Boise State's weakness, which is play a carry-ish top laner, punish Goblin in that top lane, get ahead and get scary, and he did a good job. How that will go against the Camille, we'll have to see. And then there's, of course, the Lilia. Like I said, they could pick it at any time because they know Boise State will not play that.
Poppy, that's one of the reasons why we don't see as much Camille as we could. Poppy, a great champion for shutting down those dashes, and since both of Boise State's champions are very reliant on those dashes to close in on their targets, a great pickup there for the Lobos.
Curious what Boise State wants to go with. The Tom Kench going to be picked up there for... That's an interesting one, because it makes sense to support role, but we've seen Goblin play at top lane.
I mean, someone tried to play it mid with me in my solo queue games today, so I wouldn't be surprised if that champion's a bit more versatile than we would expect. Leona going to be banned away by Boise State, of course, after how effective it was in shutting down the Twitch in the previous game. Senna going to be taken off the table by the Lobos. Don't want Boise State to have access to those, especially since they potentially still have their bot lane picks completely open.
Yeah, final ban here for Boise State. I'd be curious if it's going to be a mid laner. We saw a mid lane target ban in Phase 2 last time, or if they want to maybe focus on that support. They've kind of taken Rel and Leona off the table, so I would think they might go with a mid ban. It's actually going to be the Aatrox, so they're under the assumption that Poppy might be a support.
Certainly. We know it's not going into the jungle with that Lilia there. She's not really very effective as a laner, so the Poppy has to either go support or jungle. How many people do you see actually playing that Poppy in the jungle? I haven't seen it very popular. I haven't seen it very popular in the support role either, but at team level play, completely different. Getting that Rise off the field, probably the wisest move there, as you could say that Ascent was rising to the occasion. He certainly gave us quite a surprise.
I saw it coming from a mile away. I thought you were going to go with the Rises decision, honestly. I thought I had you figured out. You know what I don't have figured out, Lovely? What Boise State is doing with the new and it's Sejuani.
I think I know what's coming. I think I know what that fifth ban is. Don't spoil the surprise for everybody. We'll let the Lobos figure it out the hard way. We do have 2 more bans for Lobos. We're pretty sure we know what that 5th ban is going to be. Cassiopeia going to be picked up for that mid lane. So you might have heard me and Fish getting a little excited here because Boise State has been working on some crazy stuff in the background. This might be that composition that they've been hinting at.
Now, I don't know if you queued with Ascent earlier, as there's the Cassiopeia and the Morgana picked up. But this is setting up to be a mid lane Tom Kench.
I mean, I did say I had one in my solo
we
queue
were
earlier.
fooled.
Oh.
We thought it was going to be, we thought it was going to be Yasuo. We had heard that there had been some Sejuani Yasuo in the, the chambers for Boise State. Maybe being built up for a moment like this, but so now we have to figure out what is going on here, Glovely.
Let's see. I'm trying to figure this out. If you're running with against that Poppy, you probably don't want to run with the Camille. That's not a great lane for her, just because whenever you try to go onto a wall, Poppy can slam into you. If you do get the dash off, Poppy can deny you with the press of a button. So not a great lane for that Camille. I would try sending her to the mid lane, even if you don't have as many walls to bounce off of, and send the Tom Kench up there.
What?
But like I said, you could take it mid.
Camille Sejuani bot lane, though.
Oh, that has a lot of potential now that
you need the Camille. The reason she's good in the top lane is all the walls you can jump off of.
You still have those
in the bot lane. Lucian is a great mid laner that Ascent has played in the past incredibly well. Tom Kench, we've seen Goblin on it before, and it kind of neutralizes that Poppy matchup. Tom Kench will literally be slapping her, not with a wet noodle, with his wet tongue. I'm thinking it's Camille Sejuani bot lane. Maybe I'm crazy, but that just feels like what Boise State is going for. I don't know why. I think the Yasuo fits better, but I'm thinking it's Camille Sejuani bot lane, actually.
I mean, we were talking about, the Yasuo and the Sejuani in that bottom lane. You get that very similar feel with the Camille. Certainly you don't get that last breath combination with the Winter's Bite from Sejuani, but you still do have a lot of lockdown, especially with that Hextech ultimatum. So even if you are a great champion in terms of kiting, you're going to get locked into place, and that's going to make it easier for all those auto attacks to come in from the Sejuani, from the Camille, and a lot more stuns as a result.
And the ultimate from the Sejuani.
Certainly.
Not that, Dean would need help landing the Glacial Prison, but if somebody's trapped in a Hextech ultimatum, going to be very hard for them to dodge that Glacial Prism. For the side of New Mexico, a little bit more easy to piece together. Poppy, Lilia, the Cassiopeia, then right into the Kaisa and the Morgana. A pretty solid comp. Morgana is actually something usually Boise State likes to take away, so the support for New Mexico drawing quite a few bans there as we get Doxkeys to game. Focus on a strong comp. Play to our win condition. I think Glovely and I are still trying to figure out what that win condition is. Focus on what we've learned and eat Thug Smash on something. Lucian or Camille most likely. We'll eventually find out when we get into the game, but it's all brought to you by Count, whose Identity Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, and enables a personalized customer experience for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. If you want to stay safe online, check them out at count.com, KOUNT.com. Gearing up for Game 2 between Boise State and New Mexico. The Broncos could move to 9-0 with a win, or New Mexico could force them into a Game 3. As we see the format, 376 schools. We are on Week 9 of the Mountain West 10-game round robin. The top 4 teams advance. We have, at least from what I've been told by the Boise State coaches, changed the rules a little bit there for that bullet point. Instead of the Mountain West winner, we will just have the 2 semifinals, and then the 2 finalists will just advance. There will not be a Mountain West winner, as far as I'm aware. They'll just say, all right, you won, the other team won, the other top 2, they advance to those playoffs. So a little bit different, but we still have 2 teams advancing. Maybe you can say Boise State would be the champion, at least as of now, as the best team in the Mountain West at 9-0. But right now, they've got to take down New Mexico, who played them very strong with a normal comp globally, and now Boise State has thrown caution to the wind and has gone somewhere that I'm not sure even you and I can figure out where they've gone.
If there is one big hope for them, it's going to be that Poppy. So much of what Boise State has to offer is going to be nullified by that keeper's verdict to keep those dashes from closing in on top of them. So playing around that cooldown going to be very crucial for both teams. Do they engage when it's up? Do they counter-engage after Boise State has charged into them? How long do you hold on to those dashes to get you in range?
Yeah, and I would not be shocked if Ascent, once again, is the guy who has this pop-off moment, because it clearly the biggest difference felt like between him and Willem. Ascent, I mean, like we said, nearly was doubling his CS by the end of the game. If you let that Lucian get really far ahead, curious to see if he'll end up going with that Kraken Slayer. Maybe you pair it with the Mirror Mono that was just changed in the patch recently. Might have a ton of burst damage on this Lucian, so that's a mid lane matchup that maybe Didakis has to dedicate more time to, now that this bot lane is a little bit more off the wall for Boise State. And there it is. It's the Camille Sejuani bot lane with the Teleport Ignite Camille.
And I'll carry you to your
I have to admit, not a champion pairing I expected to see anytime soon, but we'll see how well it works for Boise State. They do commit a lot of members down to that bottom side of the map, so that is going to be Dean and E-Hug. Camille Sejuani, gosh, we've already talked so much about it. Let's talk about that top lane matchup. We have the Tom Kench up against that Poppy there. Feels much better for that Tom Kench than the Camille. Nothing you can really nullify with that Keeper's Verdict, which means a lot of the focus is going to be on maxing the E and the Q, so that cooldown for the W not going to be as available for the side of New Mexico, unless they decide to fight for the matchup and not for the lane.
I think the one thing I want to keep an eye on, though, is Didakis. I mean, he was at 1.8-0 last match, and we talked about him being one of the strong players for New Mexico. So that is the one that I'm going to be able to want to keep my eye on. Can he gank? Can he maybe put that Poppy ahead? Can he shut down this bot lane? Can he keep Willem in the matchup against Ascent? There's a lot of pressure on him to kind of be everywhere. And so it's going to be curious to see where he goes. I am sad. I was really hoping we'd get the Boise State stream debut, to my knowledge, of Omnistone, which was actually brought in an LCS match on a top lane Camille, I think a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, it's just Grasp of the Undying, so I am a little bit sad about that.
To be fair, it's a pretty good rune if you're just trying to get a little extra bulk and just trying to survive in that laning process. Goblin actually taking quite a beating, doesn't have that thick skin yet. It's still level 1. There's going to be a level 2 pickup there. Goblin trying to chase down, is getting that slow. One of the scariest things about the Tom Kench matchup is that if he does get long extended trades on you, he has the potential to kill you very early. Does have that ignite for that potential combo. Yellow Cactus going to take a bit of a beating, but Goblin able to sustain himself.
See the first gank from Didakis. Just trying to keep Willem in the matchup as Ascent's already doubling his CS and pushing him under tower. I am curious to see how this bot lane will play for Boise State, just because in that melee versus range matchup, the melee usually do have a harder time, so Havoc can kind of just harass endlessly. The Dark Binding from Luna and Fura can also really kind of cause a pain. Great Snowball Ever is going to come out. Sun's going to land onto Havoc. Spell Shield will be used. He's going to be able to get out, but now Luna's forced to flash. Red Hawk will go chasing. Heal is used, but it's not going to matter. It's first blood over to that Sejuani. He's stunned on a Havoc under tower. And we see Boise State still prioritizing this bot lane, even with the strange composition. And now Dean is in a very, very interesting position. I think he's trying to bait Havoc in. There's the hook shot, doesn't quite land the stun, and Havoc will survive for now.
A bit of a long shot there as to whether or not that was going to land, but overall, good attempt at a bait. Personally, I would have walked around the other side just to keep myself alive. We do see Yellow Cactus underneath this turret here. Goblin taking a lot of damage. It's going to get caught. Didakis gets his first elimination of the match, and that should be a danger sign to Boise State.
I like how Didakis has been playing so far today. Even as a Boise State fan, he has been doing everything he can to keep New Mexico in this game. A great gank for Yellow Cactus once again. Now Luna and Fira has to be careful. Dean's looking for that charge. He's going to be able to find it. There's the hook shot as well. Greatest Snowball Ever's coming in. It's not even going to matter. E-Thug picks up his first kill in this bot lane for Boise State, exactly where they want. 1-0-1 for each of them.
This Nunu, we have seen Boise State use so many times very successfully. Red Hot is going to be forced to back away since there is still a Kaisa in a lane. He's going to get caught out by that ward. He'll take it for himself and leave. Meanwhile, his mid lane Ascent putting down a lot of damage, does drop the Ignite. Daedicus comes back in, and that's going to cost him his life. Ascent, amazingly enough, survives for a long time, but Willem Pachump is going to pick it up. Meanwhile, though, greatest snowball ever is coming in. They are going to get the CC to finish him off. Red Hot is going to pick up the kill. They do commit a teleport. They're from New Mexico. Poppy in a 2 versus 1 situation, not really able to do anything.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Ascent. He accidentally used the passive double attack onto a minion. So you're going to take a look back. He realizes they're both, that Willem is out of mana, so he's not too scared. He gets the healing from Triumph, but right there, double attacks the minion. I think if he lands that onto Willem Pachump instead, that Cassiopeia is dead. And then Boise State's able to come back in, clean up the kill. They still get him the assist. And he's sitting at 1-1-1, and Boise State built his gold lead already up to 1.5K.
They did burn a lot of summoner spells in that whole engage as well. We saw that teleport come out for the Poppy, the flash from the Cassiopeia. So overall, Boise State feeling very good about their position. It's just Dean here in this bottom lane. The Camille's not even around, and they are still scared to go out. Meanwhile, the Culling comes out in the mid lane. Ascent, not enough damage to get the elimination outright, but is going to force Willem Pachump to back.
Yeah, Willem Pachump does have the teleport, so not going to buy himself too much time as you see Daedicus roaming into that Boise State jungle right around the Baron pit. But without a mid laner there, he's just going to retreat. We do see the Infernal Dragon is on the map. Have to expect with Red Hots being on that Nunu. Should be in Boise State's favor. One more good kill onto this bot lane would all but guarantee that Boise State will get first Dragon. I think that Red Hots honestly could just jump on it right now, and there's not much that Daedicus could do.
Oh no, here comes another snowball. Is it going to close in? Nope, not going to find a target, but certainly there's been a lot of focus on this bottom side of the map, and why the heck not? They're going to have access to those dragons, which will allow them to catapult their team ahead.
Yeah, you can see all of New Mexico knows they're on the dragon, but Nunu just one of those champions that is so infuriating to deal with. Boise State actually used to ban him because they just did not like dealing with how much he can control the map. Back when E-Thug was in the jungle for Boise State, who's now rotated over to the AD carry role, and that's opened up Nunu as a playable champion for Red Hots. This Goblin's going to level up, hit level 6, consume Yellow Cactus, knock him back. This is these long engages that you were talking about, Glovely. Yellow Cactus also very low on mana. But unfortunately, there is a wild Daedicus right behind him. Red Hots is coming up as fast as he can. Abilities all have missed, so the sleep has still not been used by Daedicus. Ghost pop there. Goblin do a great job just buying time for Nunu. You see Ascent is rotating up as well. Sleep is going to be used there. Goblin not going to be able to consume that gray health. And unfortunately for Boise State, the reinforcement just didn't quite get there in time, and Dean's forced to flash in the bot lane out of a Dark Binding.
Yeah, no snowball available, I'm guessing, is what was most likely happening there. So not able to commit to that. And unfortunately also burns both summoners just to try and survive for long enough. I was talking about those extended trades, but what makes those extended trades work is that slow on the tongue latch. Dean misses on a charge in. He's going to get punished for it with his life. E-Hug now on his own against 2. Underneath that turret, is able to get out of the way. The Dark Binding misses. He is able to get out with his life.
Once again, the Boise State bot lane a little bit too aggressive. That charge missing. I mean, Dean was at like 20% as well. It's a very ballsy play just to even attempt it. At the charge land, there's no guarantee they even pick up HD Havoc. Now, they did get the heal out of it as well as the flash, so they do have that going for them. As we see, they've also bought enough time for Red Hots to rotate top lane and get that Rift Herald. So objectives for Boise State, much like we saw in the first game, proving to be the difference maker right now.
Moving for it at least for now. Goblin's still sitting pretty well up in this top lane here, all things considered. Even if he doesn't have that teleport available for himself, is still ahead in that farm lead, despite being 0-2 up against this Poppy.
See, the bot lane for Boise State is level 6, and they have that Glacial Prism Hextech Ultimatum combo online. But they don't have enough health to punish the side of New Mexico. Once again, we can see these CS leads starting to develop. 13 for Goblin, nearly 30 already for Ascent, and as well about 25 for E-Thug. So those CS leads really starting to be a big reason why Boise State pulls ahead. The micro play for the Broncos, a big reason why, despite the less than stellar gameplay at times, they still can feel comfortably in the lead.
Certainly, we do have some attempts there on that Poppy underneath the tower. Probably not going to pick up any eliminations without a lot more lane to run down. Dean is wandering through this jungle here on his own. We do see the snowball flash expended just to get Datakiss out. They also expend an ultimate, though, so it was an important flash to use. Probably would have lost his life. Ascent now here under the tower. Takes a hit. Takes quite a fair bit of damage, actually. He's going to be able to walk away, though. Meanwhile, Dean, again, very deep. Dark Binding finds a different target than they were expecting. Looks like they are going to back away once more.
See that Goblin had rotated down to try and assist Ascent with Willem the Chump, but opts against it. Rift Herald is in the back pocket of Red Hot if he wants to use it. Doesn't really have many lanes he could shove. Didakis still camping around that bot side. Ethug's got to be careful. Now we're going to see the Nightmare Lullaby land. Sleeps both bot lanes. Ethug tries to use the Hextech Ultimatum to go immune, but it's not going to work. Stun still lands onto Didakis. Absolute Zero has been used. Ethug and HD Havoc dueling it out. Oh, nice hook shot and gets the physical damage shield. No way I thought Ehug was getting out with that one. But he able to play that champion perfectly, and you'd think he'd been a top man, Glovely.
Is going to get taken out by that Cassiopeia, though. Unfortunately, there's the acquired taste passive. Oh my goodness, these were the extended trades I was talking about. Goblin has the health to make it through thanks to that thick skin. Doesn't have to deal with any minions in his way, and that makes it so much easier to land those tongue lashes.
You see Ascent has just opted to push the turret. Should the Rift Herald be used here by Red Hot, it would guarantee first tower to the side of Boise State. You can see he's roaming down mid. I think that's exactly where he wants to go. So they'll try to turret plate for a kill onto Willem Pachump. And overall, it was a 2 for 2 in the bot lane. And Boise State, though, got to be happy Ethug already has that Triforce at 11 minutes in.
That whole duel was insane, but we have to remember that he does have Grasp of the Undying. That passive coming up also could have potentially saved him. But with that stun, it didn't seem like he needed either of them.
Yeah, the shield was nice. He did get a little bit of life stealing as Boise State's trying to set up a play around this second dragon. Charge from Dean is going to miss. He's coming around the corner. Hookshot going to be used. Absolute Zero does come out, and it looks like there's not much they could do. Luna Inferno will be taken out. Yellow Cactus teleports in for really no apparent reason after a fight was already lost, and Boise State should be able to pick up this dragon for free. They got to be careful. Rift Herald is expiring soon. She's on her final 10% or so in the inventory of Red Hot, so see how much value actually gets out of it. His nice hook shot going to stun up Yellow Cactus, but he's able to retreat.
Despite Boise State not committing a teleport in that top lane like you see with a lot of top laners, just for the ability to join fights, what Boise State has made up for in exchange is that they've not only had a lot of pressure, in terms of kill pressure. Red Hot is going to get caught out here. Maybe I spoke too soon. Uses the Absolute Zero to try and answer. There goes the Killer Instinct. They do pick up Red Hot. Dean going to try and do what he can, but there's that Keeper's Verdict, keeping the dashes from Camille. Able to engage on. We do see the Hextech Ultimatum in exchange. It's a 3 versus 2. Dean dives to the back line. They do pick up an elimination, but lose both of their lives for it. Boise State gets aced across the map.
Yeah, it looks like in the mid lane, Goblin and Ascent were, I guess, trying to dive Didakis. They both get taken out. One kill to Didakis, one kill to Willow Pachump. And an ace across the map in response for a Dragon, a lost Rift Herald, and one kill for Boise State. New Mexico hanging tough right now with Boise State. Once again, making the Broncos work for it in this matchup.
If there's one thing that New Mexico's composition screams to me, it's disengage. They have so many tools for denying Boise State's ability to engage. The mobility of the Lilia, the Poppy's Keeper's Verdict, the grounding on the Miasma that Cassiopeia has, the extra shield you get from the Killer Instinct, the black shield from Morgana. They have so many tools for keeping Boise State away, and they've been able to punish Boise State whenever they try to dive in, use up all of their cooldowns just to try and get on top of their targets, and then turn the fights around.
It looks like Boise State has decided to send Goblin on that support-ish role in the bot lane. Maybe trying to get a dive here as they're going to land onto Luna Inferma. Going to get that Morgana shield out of the way. which is huge if they want to organize a tower dive. They're going to try just that. But the teleport is coming in from Will Up a Chump. Didicus is here as well, and now Boise State has to realize they're in a 4v3. And they should be able to retreat. Dark Binding just barely misses. Ascent has come down with the culling. Red Hot's coming down with the greatest snowball ever. Will get canceled out by Yellow Cactus, but Ascent is immediately turned around. Culling will be used. No dashes for this pairing. They pick up one, but here comes the rest of the squad. Nice dodge. Teleport comes out here from E-Thug after going back to base, so he can be at full life. Dean could be put to sleep here. E-Thug's going to pick up one on the back line. Didicus going to be forced to flash over the wall. Absolute Zero coming out from Red Hot. Going to be an up slope. Will Up a Chump. Stun, close to landing for Dean. They'll pick it up. But now they have to be worried. This Cassiopeia actually has quite a bit of damage. He's going to get a double kill. Meanwhile, E-Thug's diving under a tower. He will go down.
It's great if you're willing to dive on top of the target. Those two members did not have the damage to be able to bring down a Cassiopeia. That extra healing she gets from dealing damage with Twin Fangs to poison targets, keeping her alive long enough to continue being a relevant threat. Boise State, though, is still arguably the victors there, as they are the ones still pushing into these lanes. Goblin going to see if he can take away this red buff. Yeah, he's going to get that for himself. He's pretty happy, but here comes the Morgana. Not going to follow up.
Yeah, the problem for Boise State is that Will Up a Chump this game having a much better time. He's 5-2-1 on this Cassiopeia. Keeping up in CS a lot better than he did on that Lucian. And Boise State tried to 1v1 him on that Sejuani. And as you mentioned, the healing passive and just the raw damage of Cassiopeia just meant there was not much Dean could do in that matchup.
Things still going pretty smoothly for both sides, all things considered. Boise State does have that slight gold lead in part due to their CS, the fact that they have 2 dragons and the only tower of the game. We do see why that Keeper's Verdict is so useful, though, as it's used to stop and engage there in that top lane as they've swapped completely here.
Oh, nice dash in. One more attack. Flash going to be used by Yellow Cactus to avoid the hook shot. He'll commit the ult as well, because the stun on the E-Thug with the tower has reset. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Ascent's going to get ulted by Will Up a Chump. Didicus comes in for the follow-up damage, and Boise State's mid lane are not having a great time. There's that Kraken Slayer, but it's a 6-2-1 Cassiopeia. There's Hollow Dive Yellow Cactus. Facial Prison going to be used. Dean gets away with just barely a sliver of HP.
Sometimes it doesn't matter if you counter the entire kits of the opposing 2 laners. If you don't have that ability, or you're just outnumbered underneath your turret, they're just going to dive you anyway.
Yep. Dragon is spawning soon. About a minute away. Curious to see how much priority Boise State wants to put on it.
Well, we do see that Red Hot may have just picked up, yes, he did pick up the Rift Herald for himself on the other side of the map. So even if they do give up this dragon, they've still picked up a major objective. At this point, I would say you force New Mexico to make a choice. You drop that Rift Herald in a lane, and then start moving towards that dragon. Do you give up the turret to that Rift Herald, or do you let Boise State have the dragon when they already have 2? But it looks like they're going to concede this dragon, actually. 3 members of New Mexico basically uncontested here in the bottom lane. Now Dean's walking into 3. He does have his scent for backup. Dark Binding is going to miss. So Boise State maybe just at this point needs to find a place to drop that Rift Herald. A lot of damage coming out from E-Thug. That Q, such a great ability.
Yeah, I was surprised that Boise State did not attempt to contest that dragon a bit more, put themselves on soul point. Dean nearly gets caught out by Didicus, forced to dash away and take care of that ward. They've lured 2 members, almost 3, as Will Up a Chump moves up for a moment, then retreats as Goblin's just going to split push down and should be able to take down this bottom tier 1 turret without too much, as long as the minions stay alive.
Well, he doesn't have the Demolish, so it might take him a bit longer than we might have expected a tank to do, but he is putting a fair amount of damage there and able to push up the wave. Meanwhile, Red Hot is going to barrel down on this Cassiopeia. There is the root. Absolute Zero comes out just to hold him in place. So he's going to get melted down. A very nice sleep from that Lilia. Ascent going to be caught by Yellow Cactus. There's the jump over the wall, though, and Poppy's Keeper's Verdict isn't available anymore. E-Hug is taking so much damage on the back line. Commits the Hextech ultimatum, but is going to go down. Boise State just setting in members one after the other, trying to finish off these kills. But Goblin, the only one left alive.
Yeah, the Glacial Prism, unfortunately, from Dean missed, and that kind of really made it difficult for E-Hug to make a play. Goblin's going to get rooted by the Dark Binding, and he uses great health early. Can't quite get stunned into the wall. Should be able to survive just barely, and he will do just that.
No killer instinct coming out from that Kai'Sa. That probably would have been the end of Goblin. Very low health now as he retreats to the bottom lane just to pick up some more farm.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it does feel like Boise State right there just kind of threw members in one by one. Red Hot Snowball will get stopped by the Dark Binding. You've got to find a way if you're Boise State. The fact that they decided for the Udyr ban over the Lilia ban is really interesting because Didakis proving to be very, very good on this Lilia. 5-2-9 this game. Last game, the stats kind of collapsed, but at one point sitting was 8-0-3. Still had a pretty strong game overall in game 1. Very shocked that Lilia got through, and if we get a game 3, I have a feeling that Lilia will not be making it into any sort of lineup for New Mexico.
Soft gets used, but they do find the Poppy. Good use of that Keeper's Verdict is going to keep stun off, and here comes the Coaling. Poppy able to get out of the way. Absolute Zero just barely tickles, but Red Hot still able to get over the wall, pick up Yellow Cactus. Hextech Ultimatum finds the Lilia, but she's over the wall. Dark Binding catches Ascent just on the edge. There's the Killer Instinct to follow up as the rest of Boise State forced to retreat. Ascent does not pick up the elimination, just barely. We do see Goblin, though, has wandered over to the other side of the map, going to pick up one for himself, but meanwhile, Willem Pachump absolutely wrecking Boise State's health bars now as Goblin goes his way towards Havoc. Is going to pick him up for a double kill, but is going to go down. They didn't have Ethug there for that fight. Triple kill for the Cassiopeia.
Yeah, Ethug unfortunately had to retreat. Wants to go lifesteal off some minions with that Ravenous Hydra. By the time he was able to get back in the fight, his entire team was dead. And now this Cassiopeia is proving to be just a bigger and bigger problem. 11-2-3, already has the Leandries finished to have that extra burn damage, and now multiple fights in a row where Will Pachump just hasn't been contested by anyone. I mean, the only damage Boise State has is Ascent and E-Hug. One of them has to get on that Cassiopeia quickly, or New Mexico was going to start winning more and more fights.
And it is that reliance on Boise State's movement abilities that have been giving them so much trouble. If you want to stop a Cassiopeia, it's easy. You just have to get on top of her. Yeah, except you've got a Poppy in the way blocking your dashes, and Cassiopeia is throwing down a wall of miasma to stop you from dashing or blinking or jumping after you. And the more and more and more you try to chase this Cassiopeia, the more damage and more time she has for that poison to work its way to burn down your health bars. Dragon is now going to be up here very soon.
Expect a contest here from Boise State, but Goblin is topside without teleport. Ethug is bot with teleport. He's destroyed Boise State's turret, and much like we saw in game number 1, the macro play for Boise State started to make its way through, and not an elimination, but an objective, and Boise State has opted to trade off the Dragon for the Baron. Ethug will use that teleport, no one's going to stop him, and Boise State has to be content with this trade.
I mean, that's one option. Use the Dragon as bait to pick up Baron Nashor for yourself. The crucial Baron timer has now started. Is Boise State barreling down that top lane uncontested towards the turret. New Mexico does have full control of this Dragon, and they will be able to get their second Dragon of the game, but is it worth it? You're going to sacrifice the Baron buff. You're going to sacrifice at least one turret. Boise State very rapidly moving towards their second one. There is a Poppy in the way. Unfortunately, that Frozen Blizzard does not land. E-Hug does pick up that elimination as Boise State now takes their second turret. Inhibitor exposed. All 5 members are here. Sleep lands on the 2. Ultimate pushes the third away. Zero does come out, but doesn't find a target. Havoc takes Dean out, and the rest of Boise State forced to retreat.
Goblin pops the Ghost to try and wall off his team. But it looks like everyone for Boise State should be able to get back out to safety, especially with those Baron improved recalls. So they get 2 turrets in the top lane. Don't get the inhibitor. You have to wonder if Boise State's going to offer a more split-pushing mentality here.
They still have almost 2 minutes left of that Baron buff.
Yeah, with the kill, with the fight's not always going their way, just simply because they have not found a way to deal with Cassiopeia. I'd be curious to see where they want to do with this Baron buff. Do they want to maybe push bot lane? All very interesting, but right now team fights not how Boise State's going to win this game, because New Mexico's Willem Pachump on this Cassiopeia cannot be stopped.
If I'm Boise State, I want to play around this Cassiopeia by split pushing. You force the team to split their disengagement tools up, split their damage up, and face Boise State in more 1 versus 1 scenarios where their members have been finding a lot more success.
Yeah, I think eThug might be able to 1v1 that Cassiopeia, but at 11, 2, and 4, it's going to be very difficult. But he does, once again, for Ascent, have a huge CS lead, nearly 100. Red Hot's going to run into Yellow Cactus and Luna Inferma in the jungle. Nothing too crazy, though. Everyone will just disengage. And that Baron buff is starting to run out.
We do see Ascent down to that bottom lane, still having a massive CS advantage. The ultimate does find a target. Boise State caught in a huge paralyzing gaze. Datakid's on a rampage now as Dean Telfar also gets melted down by Havoc. Meanwhile, though, we see Goblin in that bottom lane using that Baron buff to continuously pressure these towers. Is going to most likely pick up one for Boise State. No, actually, Yellow Cactus coming down to try and face him.
Ascent trying to set up a pick onto Will Pachump, going to dash right over the wall. Coling will come out. Will Pachump will just flash to safety. Zanyas is used there. Now a second Zanyas is used. One shutdown for Ascent, but he can't get another one as it was a 1-on-4. Not sure it was worth it, but the shutdown gold for that Lucian's going to be pretty important.
However, that shutdown gold did go over to this Morgana, who's been having trouble in these lanes. We've seen multiple Dark Bindings not finding their targets here. So maybe you say, hey, yeah, that's worth it. If the shutdown's going to go to anyone, send it to their support. Yellow Cactus doing the best they can up against this Tahm Kench. The Baron buff has run out, so he doesn't have that in his favor. It's going to be a lot harder for him to take these turrets without the kind of heavy AD. Maybe if he picks up a Titanic Hydra. Flash used to dodge the Dark Blinding. We see Keeper's Verdict prevents Dean from being able to answer that dash.
Yeah, great job by Red Hot, making sure he doesn't get caught out. Because it feels like the Boise State path to victory is through split pushing. As no one has been able to counter Willem Pachump. His paralyzing gazes have been on point to buy himself the space he needs. Space Person is going to land on Luna Inferno. And he's going to be able to Zanyas that one in time. A two-man sleep goes out to Dean, and eThug after the zero will be canceled, though, by Yellow Cactus. Goblin's going to teleport into the fight. Dean will flash away from the paralyzing gaze. And Ascent, no teleport, can't join the fight, but that's a lot of ultimates burned if you're the side of New Mexico.
Yeah, on top of that, they also burned their teleport. Looks like Boise State wants to re-engage. They do use the Giant Snowball, not going to connect with anyone. Dean caught out on his own against a wall. Miasma going to prevent him from dashing away. Killing spree for Havoc now, 7, 4, and 7 on this Kaisa.
All the while, Ascent's been split pushing in that top lane. Red Hot's going to get caught, stunned against the wall. Killer Instinct going to be used by Havoc, and he'll run one more down. Dragon is spawning soon. We'll see how many players are going to back to try and stop Ascent. Looks like Yellow Cactus is on his way. The rest of them are rotating towards that mid turret. Ascent has picked up the top inhibitor for the Broncos. And you have to wonder if that split pushing strategy is going to work with a Camille and a Lucian.
It does seem to be doing a great job. Boise State have picked up a lot of towers there for their team now. 6 towers for Boise State and only 1 for the side of New Mexico. So pressure definitely in Boise's favor. But as we've seen, the entire composition of New Mexico is built around disengaging. Ascent now going to be caught out by the petrifying gaze. Willem Pachump godlike now. Dragon goes over to New Mexico. That's their 3rd Mountain Dragon of the game. That Poppy is going to be so hard to deal with as eThug now trying to get away with his life. Chased by multiple members. Here comes the Abyssal Voyage from Tahm Kench trying to come in and help. eThug's barely going to survive. No! Is going to go down. Not enough lifesteal. Goblin now going to get pinned against the wall and take it down. New Mexico really showing that they have the full ability to win this game, and they're going to punish Boise State every time they want to engage.
It's a really great Black Shield by Luna. Made Willem Pachump immune to the Glacial Prison CC. If that doesn't land in time, I think Ascent's able to burn down that Cassiopeia. So great job there by that Morgana, making a hero play to allow New Mexico to win the fight. Baron is spawning soon. Boise State will have some of its members, but there's no Abyssal Voyage for Goblin. So it's going to be very difficult for E-Hug and Goblin to get into this fight, so it's up to Red Hot to attempt to steal.
He is a Nunu, so he certainly does have some potential there to be able to do that. Blast Cone available in his area. We see Ascent closing in on the Morgana. Coling is used. Zonia's Hourglass pops in response. Huge hammer sends 3 members flying. Ascent gonna go down. Now Boise State in a bit of a pickle here without one of their primary damage dealers available. Good Consume gets Dean to safety, but they still have members closing in on them. Red Hot picks up Didakis, so there goes that member. E-Hug Hextech Ultimatum picks up Yellow Cactus. There's no more ability to deny the engage. There's the double kill. Boise State now able to chase down those members.
Willem Pachump gets away with full HP. Everyone else incredibly low. Boise State looks like they're going to jump onto this Baron now. They should be able to get it uncontested. Dean's going to die.
Oh. I wasn't sure why Dean was willing to stick around with that incredibly low health bar. So only 2 members here available against this Baron, but considering that one of them is a Camille, the other one is a Nunu, they should be able to get this very easily. Only a Tom catch. They're creating pressure in the lane. That's going to be that Baron buff, so you can see the Baron buff crucial timer in the top right-hand corner of your screen. 3 minutes of this Baron buff for Boise State.
Yeah, waiting for Ascent to spawn as well, so he's able to pick up the Baron buff, meaning it'll be on 4 of the 5 Boise State members. They want to have Goblin down in that bot lane, split pushing. They should be able to pull it off pretty well. I mean, we just saw that last fight. Exactly how Boise State wants to play. They want to get all the resources out of New Mexico, and then they want to re-engage. Fortunately, Havoc, the Killer Instinct, did not pair very well with the hammer from Yellow Cactus. Actually sent HD Havoc into the back line of Boise State. He was lucky to get out alive. But the only issue I still have, Glovely, is that Willem Pachump is not being pressured at all. He left that fight with full HP.
Did indeed. That's the biggest issue with Boise State's composition, is that being able to reach that Cassiopeia. Certainly they are finding some success in being able to split the members up. They are now attempting a 3-1-1 split push here and doing a great job of it. Pardon, now it's a 1-2-2 split push here with E-Hug and Dean in that bottom lane, doing a lot of damage to the turret. Here comes the ultimate from Poppy. Not sure that was entirely needed, but going to shove out anyway. Meanwhile, up in that top lane,
yeah, Goblin's just building the wave. The Baron empowered cannon minions that stay out of tower range have done a really good job whittling down that mid inhibitor turret. Top of turret will go down. Now here comes the fight for New Mexico. It's like E-Hug's gonna be able to pick up the bottom inhibitor, but he will pay for it with his life. He's gonna hook shot to the fountain, can't get away. Boise State's gone full inhibitor mode though. All 3 of them have been taken down. And I don't think there's a re-engage here for the side of New Mexico, so Boise State just wants to apply full pressure with double super minions in every lane.
Boise State might be losing a lot of these fights, and maybe they're not picking up the key members, but what members they are picking up are allowing them small advantages across the map, and this is why in solo queue, it doesn't matter how many kills you get, guys. Help me hit the tower already. Glacial Prison does find 1. There's the Keeper's Verdict in. A good Zonia is going to keep alive a bit longer, but Willem Pachump, now legendary, takes out Ascent on the back line. Boise State loses their primary damage dealer. And now a Goblin in a really bad position as that Dark Binding lands. There's the stun. Ultimate doesn't quite complete. HD Havoc, though, is still legendary.
Now with the Dragon spawning soon, this would be Earth Soul for the side of New Mexico. That bonus shield on guys like Didakis and guys like Willem Pachump could make the win here for Boise State that much harder, but the Broncos really have no choice. Down Ascent and Goblin. They just have to hand it over and hope that the minions can do the work in the base of New Mexico, because right now the Lobos are starting to pull away in terms of objectives and overall kills. But the gold lead's still on Boise State's side, mainly in thanks in part to a couple of huge CS leads and that 9-2 tower disparity.
Yeah, all things considered, this game has been really close in terms of gold, at least, for both sides. Even though it seems like Boise State has been struggling, and even though it seems like New Mexico has been struggling equally on the other side.
The hardest problem for Boise State is dealing with the Lilia ults into the Cassiopeia ult because the sleep just lasts so long. It allows cLoL to position himself perfectly to land a huge stun either to someone like Ascent or someone like E-Hug. As you see, Boise State is opting for this. Well, they were opting for a 3-1-1 at some point. They really want this top inhibitor to guarantee that every lane has 2 super minions pushing in it. That would really make it hard for New Mexico to push out of the base in fear of being backdoored by E-Hug.
If not by E-Hug, then just by the minions themselves. Thankfully, though, New Mexico does have a lot of wave clear, so they will be able to clear out these minions fairly easily. There's a lot of focus on this bottom side of the map. It's just Goblin and Ascent for Boise State, but 3 members here for New Mexico now just to shove the waves out as Boise State continues to try and pressure.
Yeah, there's no real objectives on the map, so right now Boise State's just content to continue farming, try and finish up all these item builds. Goblin's going to tank the swirling seeds to allow Ascent to be able to back. Good news for Boise State, there is no Magi's on cLoL, so he won't have that bonus AD, but he does have a Zhonya's and a stopwatch. It's a very interesting combo. I feel like the Zhonya's cooldown is low enough that you wouldn't need the additional stopwatch.
For all we know, it could be some sort of hybrid build where you pick up Guardian Angel, or maybe he just wants to make sure he can last an extra long time the next time he gets caught out. I do think the stopwatch, very strange choice there. We do see on the back line, here comes the greatest snowball ever, being used as a zoning tool just to shove people away, force the disengage as Boise State continues to shove these waves in. We do see that the Baron buff is coming up very shortly, and if Boise State has favored any objective this game, it's been the Baron.
Yeah, I do understand the sort of Zhonya's stopwatch combo from the fact that due to how the base looks right now, the inhibitors should be respawning relatively soon in the mid and the bot lane. One lost fight for New Mexico will lose in the game as there's a collision first going to land right on the Nidakis. Hextech ultimatum will come out, and they're able to get the first kill, and Ethug's able to get away. Abyssal Voyage into the back line, but it's not enough to save Luna as the hammer comes out. cLoL the target. There's the stopwatch going to be used. He's going to be taken down almost immediately. Yellow Cactus not able to get away. That's going to be a triple kill, and ace for Boise State. That's going to be game. And I don't think that is a item misunderstanding, because you can see the Zhonya's is on cooldown and the stopwatch broke. I think cLoL maybe thought he tried to 5D chest the game, and the game 5D chest him back. One lost fight, and Boise State picks up the clean win.
Overall, impressive match from both teams, but Boise State is going to be the winner of this matchup here over the Lobos. Congratulations to Boise State on their 9th win.
At 9-0, they will have one more match this Saturday against Fresno State to see if the Broncos can remain undefeated this school year in the Mountain West. Remember, last fall we had our cLoL tournament. The Broncos ran the table, took down Nevada in the championships, and advanced to the cLoL playoffs in there. Don't forget that the beatdown at Boise State is going to be broadcast live this Saturday, March 6th, with the finals of Street Fighter V, Tekken 7, Dragon Ball FighterZ, and Super Smash Ultimate. It's a great place to check out what the best of what the Idaho fighting game community has to offer. If you want to check it out, like we said, in-person finals, Saturday, March 6th. I won't spoil too much, but we've got some pretty big plans on how this is going to be set up. So you want to make sure you check this out. Saturday, March 6th. It's going to be a ton of fun. Right now, Boise State wasn't the cleanest win, Glovely. I think sloppy at times probably is a good way to describe game 2, but they pick it up regardless. I understand maybe where they were coming from against New Mexico. But still, you got to be happy with the overall result. Boise State saying, hey, we might not always, win with our comps, but we can outplay you in a sense that even when you're ahead in kills, you're behind in gold and you're behind in pressure.
And the fact that Boise State had that pressure constantly was just due to being smart about where they took their objectives and what objectives they prioritized. We saw Boise State give up 4 dragons after the first 2 were dropped, 4 mountain drakes for for the side of the Lobos, Boise State's like, we don't need those. We can just, while you're focused on Dragon, we can get objectives on other places of the map. We can take your towers, we can take your inhibitors, we can grab the Baron to take more towers and inhibitors, and that kind of pressure allowed them to move so much more freely across the map.
Yeah, they, constantly going for that split pushing in the top lane, opening up those inhibitors to where New Mexico would have had to win multiple fights. They were even winning multiple fights in a row, but it would win. Everyone would be low. They'd have to back. There was never any pressure. New Mexico only had 2 turrets that entire game. Actually only took down 3 turrets that entire series, despite, I think, overall New Mexico having more kills. So I really liked how Boise State played it. Huge shout-out to Ascent. Ascent, Goblin, and E-Hug all dominated their CS to the point where even when E-Hug kind of struggled in the bot lane and when Goblin kind of had some issues game 1 on Sion, they were always ahead in gold because they were starving out the opponent's CS. And not everyone likes to admit it, Lovely, but at the end of the day, it really matters more how well you can right-click minions as opposed to how many kills you can rack up.
I mean, they do say that, 20 CS is roughly equivalent to a kill. And when you have almost 100 CS over your opponent, that's 5 eliminations. On top of all of the eliminations you have, Ascent was absolutely terrifying in that first game just because he was not only carrying, but also continuously farming on that late game champion.
Boise State 9-0 in cLoL. They'll have one last match to try and go 10-0. They have already locked their spot in the playoffs. If they win their semifinal match, they will move on to the cLoL playoffs. From what I've been told by Nakoba, one of the Boise State coaches, cLoL has decided to just can the conference championships, and they'll just take the best 2 teams from all of the conferences. So Boise State only 2 games away from the cLoL playoffs. We do have our Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game around the corner. Glovely, tough choice. Ascent, I mean, in game 1, definitely was Ascent. Maybe even E-Hug. They were really close. Game 2, none of them performed well in terms of the flashy statistics in terms of KD. So who would you give it to?
If I had to give it to anyone, I do think that Ascent was definitely the most consistent performer across both games. Even though we saw great performances from multiple members of Boise State, as you said, I feel like in terms of being consistent, he performed very well, not just in that first game, but the Lucian was also a huge threat for Boise State in that second game and continued to be a huge presence in the fights. Whenever that Lucian went down, they lost all of their damage potential, so the team very much centered around his ability to make plays.
Yeah, I think that those 2 guys, very strong. I think maybe Boise State also maybe realized how important that Shen is. I'm sure Goblin does not enjoy that in a sense, but the Sion, the Tom Kench, the number of times that maybe E-Thug or E-Hug now or Ascent gets kept alive with Stand United in either of those games, pretty high.
Definitely, and in that bot lane composition, the Camille was definitely very powerful, but it was so hard to engage, especially given that you had the Poppy. Looks like it is going to be Ascent.
Yeah, Ascent doing an incredible job, CSing mainly, picking up kills, especially in that game number 1 on that rise. I mean, you can see it now. It did not look like it was a great start. He was 2-3, got ganked a couple times, but that CS lead just kept building and building and building, well on his way to a CS game in game number 1 had it not finished. And in game number 2, it was a little bit closer. It really hard for Lucian to survive that Lilia Cassiopeia alt combo, as we're going to see the quadra kill, probably the best overall play of the night. As Ascent picks that one up, and a big reason why he's the ICCU player of the game.
Definitely. This rise was terrifying, and if I am another team, it's definitely a champion I am looking to either find a counter for or to ban it out, potentially being that 3rd ban committed to against Boise State.
Yeah, and when Ascent finally had a chance to play the game with a great pick to start and forcing Willow Pachump into that early barrier, he picks up a triple kill in the only fight that really matters. So a big reason why he is the Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game. His play in game 1, his play in game 2. Across the board, I think Boise State probably pretty happy with their game 1 performance. I do think the game 2 performance has some moments where they can say, hey, look, we played better in the macro sense. We knew when to push turrets. Overall, there was a lot of aggression, especially from that Boise State bot lane, that New Mexico kind of said, all right, come on down, dive us under turret. We're just going to find a way to stop you. So there are definitely some things Boise State can definitely work on as we get closer to the Mountain West playoffs. But Idaho Central Credit Union, who thinks that a great player makes a team more successful, just like they're helping their members achieve financial success, Ascent is your Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game for this. As we said, their final regular season match this Saturday against Fresno State. See if the Broncos can go 10-0. We prepare to wrap things up. We take a look at the standings, Glovely, and the future schedule. What are your thoughts from what we saw today?
From what we saw, I think Boise State still playing very over-aggressive and getting punished for it. I think maybe the Lobos weren't successful in being able to punish Boise State, but there is that overconfidence sort of that you get when you are 9-0 in the standings, and that's something they can't afford against a team like San Diego, who they're going to be playing up against soon.
Yeah, and also maybe it's a risky strategy, but maybe New Mexico has shown how you can counter that Twitch. You play that Leona in the bot lane. You basically Zenith Blade every time they try for that aggressive tower dive that Ehug and Dean have really been working on and playing really well since he's moved down to the bot lane. That is Ehug. Maybe that's a strat if you want to open up a ban, because in the grand scheme of the meta, banning Twitch and Rumble every game, it's not a very fun thing because they're not very good outside the hands of Ehug and Ascent. So maybe that's how you open up a ban. No team's been successful in saying, hey, let's just have Ascent take Rumble. That one's off the table. No, please don't try it. Several Mountain West teams have, and there's a reason Boise State's 9-0. I think that's all we need to say, Glovely. But that will wrap things up. If you want to see the Boise State Broncos try and wrap this up with an undefeated regular season, come back Saturday for their match against Fresno State. But we have our top plays. They're presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 jobs, offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming, and here are your top 5 plays for the Broncos' 2-0 win over New Mexico in Week 9 of cLoL. Broncos today, and then coming up on Saturday, as we said, they've already clinched their spot in the
Lilia, what a terrifying champion for Boise State to go up against. Onslaught of Shadows whips in the back line. Red Hawk is going to get punished for it with his life. Goblin trying to be a good tank, but Ascent is the one who's really carrying his team right now, putting out so much damage. Quadra kill, but there is still this Lilia alive. Decimating Smash is not going to be able to land. Goblin, the only one left.
So you got to deal with Ehug on the back line. Spray and Pray has been popped. Huge expunge, going to cut the HP in half. Red Hawk picks up one, he gets the second one. HD Havoc's trying to kite. They'll use the ultimate to get away. They will take down Goblin. They got to be careful. Zidicus coming in with the lullaby. Flash forward by Ehug. Expunge used. Willem gonna die. He will go. Because he uses that defensively. He's just going to be able to disengage.
One thing that's very concerning about the fact that they don't have that Kraken Slayer is that Boise State has so many tanks. How do you chew through that front line when you're not using those anti-tank weapons? You've committed everything trying to do something about that Twitch. Ascent on a killing spree now. 4-3-0, kind of the unsung hero.
Will lose in the game as there's a place going to land right on the Zidicus. Tech Ultimatum will come out, and they're able to get the first kill, and Ethug's able to get away. Abyssal Voyage into the back line, but it's not enough to save Luna as the hammer comes out. Willem chumps the target. There's the stopwatch going to be used. He's going to be taken down almost immediately. Yellow Cactus not able to get away.
Oh, good death sentence. Does
Nice.
find Datakis.
Done.
Still jumps over the wall. Stolen! Datakis doing an absolute monster of a job. Sets up his team with a huge sleep as well. They dive the backline. Ehug is going to finally shut him down, but HD Havoc doing an amazing job. Picks up the double hill kill. Ehug, though,